I think that one of the most important things is that no matter what you're trying to develop or innovate, the customer is finally the end user. So you really need to have an open discussion with them, try to understand what they really need.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wisenetix Podcast episode. I'm Ricardo, your host, and today, as guest speaker, I'm having here with me Antonia Tacconi. Antonia, she is the Global Portfolio Manager at Perstorp Animal Nutrition. Welcome, Antonia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
We're very glad to have you. Antonia, we like to start our conversations with our guests, learning a little bit about their background. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Antonia, as my name probably already discloses. I'm actually from Italy. I come from a very small city next to Verona, which is in the beautiful northern part of Italy. And I did my studies in Austria at the University of Boku in Vienna. I studied biotechnology and food science and technology. After that, I did my PhD in bioanalytics, working on the development of lateral flow devices for the detection of antibiotics and histamine in food of animal origin, basically. So we were looking at milk and meat. And that's sort of how then I became interested in the sort of production chain and how I then get in touch with the feed additive business. And I started working in the feed additive business as product manager in 2016. And since then, I've always been a product manager, global portfolio manager. So this is basically my career in short.
That's great. And those are some of the points we're going to tackle here on our conversation. What are the differences from, a portfolio manager to a product manager? But I'll leave this to our following questions. Before we jump to our business conversation, can you tell us what are your top 3 experiences in life and what did you learn from those?
If I think about it chronologically, probably the one of the would say most impactful experiences I had was when I moved from Italy to Austria to study. So back then I was 19 years old. Thought everyone is like Italians. So basically I was like, yeah, everyone is going to be super friendly to me and I'm going to have tons of friends when I move to Austria. You can imagine that was not the case. I arrived in Vienna, where it took me a while to find a place to stay. So I couldn't join university right from the first week of classes. So that, of course, also hindered me on joining the cliques at the beginning. And basically it took me almost 3 months to start getting talking to people and making friends, which of course, if you would move to Italy, that wouldn't happen. Like you would have friends from day zero onwards. So that basically taught me a bit that there are huge differences among cultures. And when I was little, we didn't travel that much outside of Italy. Of course, we visited neighboring country like Austria, but when you go for a vacation, it's completely different than when you go for living and working or studying there. And that sort of, however, what also triggered my interest in the world, I would say. So that was maybe the first one. A second one, very meaningful, was basically when I finished my PhD. And probably in other countries it's not so important, but here in Austria, where I actually currently live, if you have a title, you're then going to be treated differently. So I remember, sitting at the doctor's, waiting for my appointment, and then being called, Dr. Tacconi, please come to room 1. And then I didn't react. I was like, who's this person?
Has the same surname.
Till now, sometimes when I'm called like Dr. Tacconi, I don't really react. It's not because it's not me. It's just because I'm not used to. Because of course, I'm more used to probably English-speaking environments where you're dressed just by your name. So it's Antonia. And if somebody doesn't call me Antonia, I'm not sure who they're talking to. But that teaches you also that there are some roles and some links to all these academic titles and seniority in other countries that you also need to respect. And then the third most meaningful, and I think that's the most meaningful at all, was when I became a mother in 2020. So I gave birth to a beautiful little boy, Arthur, and everything changed. So that's when you realize that you're gonna be a mother on top of it, and that's basically who you're gonna be for your son. They're never gonna see you in another perspective. That's also when as a woman that has been working on her career or anything, I had to sort of adapt a bit, because when you stay home and lose out on the work that you actually find funny, and start being just a mother, there are some personal psychological difficulties that you might undergo, and that made me change my perspective on women in general, not only women that have children but also women that decided not to have them. And you start understanding more about actually how different a woman has it compared to a man.
Yeah, it's a totally different like relation. Of course, like in the past few years, we can see a trend of like things equalizing a little bit, but not the same thing. Like it's a completely different challenge. Even like the how you need to give your body and be there. Like the man is not, it doesn't necessarily needs to be there. Like of course we try if you want to be a good father, a good person, you want to be close and help as much as you can. But the link between mother and child, I think that's not something that will ever be like fully equalized.
No,
It's
and I mean, I agree with you. And I must say that I was fortunate enough to have a partner that really helped. Actually, he took over some of the childcare time, so I could go back to work. So I've been fortunate enough to have someone understanding, that also understood, she's not just a mother, but she also is a person that wants to evolve in her career and her personality. So I was lucky. Not everyone is as lucky as I am.
at least we see a good trend in this scenario, like meaning getting better again. It will never be the same thing, but at least people are creating some consciousness about like the importance of being present and helping. Uh, Antonia, and thank you for sharing those experiences. Uh, Now thinking about how your parents see your work, how they understand. This is just a fun question that we like to ask, just to make our transition to our business talk. So how do you think your parents would describe what you did today?
I think there will be a huge difference between what my mother would say and what my father would say. So
Okay.
basically, my father would say, "Oh, she just travels to sell products," while my mother, she's always been a bit more, asking, "What are you exactly doing?" So she would say, she is managing feed additives for livestock animals. So at least she would know, she would know what I actually do.
A little bit more precise. Okay, okay. Yeah. Mothers usually they are a little bit more aware. Great. And I think that would be something similar with my I don't know. Maybe none of them would be able to fully understand what I do. And so let's talk a little bit about your experience and your work with product management, with portfolio manager management, and starting with those two concepts. You've been through both roles, product manager and portfolio manager. What do you think are the most common misconceptions about these positions?
Honestly, I don't think that there is a real misconception. I just think that because product management can be interpreted in so many different ways, there are so different views about what a product manager is. So if I look at our counterparts in the pure chemical business, these are people that you know basically look into the market and say, okay, this is what we need. They start forecasting on volumes and things like that, but they don't really need to basically think um, about the health of a living animal, and how that's going to impact it, and what can I say about that product or not. Because let's be honest, if they're selling something like pure organic acid, that can be used in the animal industry, but it also can be used for other purposes like creams and things like that. Basically, they're selling a commodity, so it's a lot about pricing. While in other industry, it's a lot about the feeling of the people. So let's say, if we look at the beauty and care segment, there it's a lot about how can I, from an emotional perspective, connect with the consumer. Is it because the consumer is trying to look younger, or is it because I want to address a large group? So I don't know if you've noticed, but the newest marketing campaigns related to some of the body creams, look at every type, body shape, body type, body color, so everything. Which, on the contrary, in animal nutrition is a bit different. So sometimes you cannot really get into that level where you actually can connect with the feeling of the producer, also because your customer might be just the purchaser, or your customer is the nutritionist, or it's the veterinarian. So it's a bit more complicated from that perspective.
You gave me a good link to the next question, which is okay, it's not exactly about misconceptions, but which industries are we talking about, so we can talk about like the type of product manager, right? The first one, the first example you used about a chemical industry, it's probably, as you mentioned, commodity, maybe something a little bit more about logistics and pricing to get that thing to the right place and whatever they will do with that product later. Then the last example with the beauty and care, we're talking a little bit more about like a marketing perspective, right? Where we're looking like, hey, how the consumer feels at the end, and how they will engage with the product. While now in our main focus today, we're talking about a B2B feed additive to a nutritionist or distributor, or even a feed company that might buy your feed additive to add to their feed. We're talking a little about a different path. Looking at the feed additive industries, actually, it can be a little bit broader. We can talk about ag industry in general, feed additive. You can think about vaccines and different things. But people that lead with either nutritionists or maybe veterinarians, sometimes with the producers. What are the most common types of product managers? Their responsibilities and the difference between those product managers to a portfolio manager.
Well, I can just sort of talk out of experience, so there might be much more than what I'm mentioning now. But if I think about my experience so far, there is sort of the I would call it product owner. Sometimes that is seen maybe as the simplest product manager that is out there, but it's also not the case, because it's a quite complex and very demanding role. But that is more, the manager that actually interacts with production, ensures that during production everything works perfectly, ensures that the documentation is there for the registration process, ensure that all the documents related to quality control and related to export and things like that can be somehow created, so that gives input from that side. So I would say, maybe, to describe it briefly, a product owner is the person that does everything in the background. So they don't really have direct contact with customers, but they basically manage to ensure that actually the customer can finally get the product. So I would say there is this type of product manager. Then there is more like a product manager that I would call the brand manager. So that's more the person that sits there and analyzes what did I receive, how can I position this product in the market, and then together with the marketing department actually develops the brand as such. Then you have the technical product manager. So that's more a product manager related to the innovation side of the business. So someone that knows how products should be applied, and can get feedback to the innovation team in terms of this is what we cannot forget when we're trying to develop new product. So I'm not saying that the technical product manager is actually the one that drives the innovation, but it's actually the one that basically gives to innovation the information needed in general to develop that. And that there is the portfolio manager, which can also be very broad. We as Perstop see it more as someone that ensures that actually the different type of products that we have are overseen from a umbrella overview, so that we avoid that we work in silos with those products. And I mean, we at Perstop have quite a few different type of products out there. We have products for feed hygiene, we have products for the treatment of raw materials, we have products for silage preservation, mycotoxin management, and then we have products for gut health. So basically, this type of role is to work with the product management team, and ensure that we don't work in silos, but when we try to talk to customer, we actually try to solve their issues. So we give them solutions, and that can include more products from different groups and categories, to ensure that we can answer their demands and their challenges as good as possible. So
Okay.
that's basically, there is probably more than that, but that's more or less what I've been exposed to so far. Yeah, yeah, I think I mentioned all the most important ones.
Okay. Yeah, they make sense together. The technical, the brand, the owner who takes care of about the legal and everything basically on the background, and then a portfolio making sure that the solutions make sense within the company, right? They're not in silos as you mentioned. And how do you balance all those different areas? Because you have technical, you have marketing, then you have sales, the people that will bring the products to the market, the innovation aspects. How do you balance all of that in your role as a portfolio manager? And which areas do you think are most challenging to work with?
If you have the resources, the best thing would be if you have a team of product management where everyone does one of these tasks. So basically, you would have the product management that do the operation, the product management that do the technical part. If you don't have the resources to cover all of that, I think the best thing would be to ensure that you have a team that is differentiated, a team where yes, you have a person that is in charge of a specific product, but that knows also where are my limits. But maybe there is someone else in the team that can help me figure other things out, and then that can learn from each other. Um, it's difficult to get one person that knows it all. I myself, for example, I don't know a lot of things. What I do is I tend to surround myself with people that know, so that I can basically have them complimenting me, and I'm sure that they can also learn something from me. So that's how I try to balance that. Of course, you cannot become a product manager if you're not interested in learning new areas and new things, because even if you do not need, to design a marketing campaign and work on preparation of sales presentation folder and things like that, you still need to understand the basics of it, so that when you're part of that project, you can actually ensure that you're adding value to the project itself. So the most important thing for a product manager, I would say, is to always want to learn something new, because you never stop learning. At least that's my experience so far.
Definitely. And I love this, be surrounded up by people who understand the things that you don't. I think that's essential. And one thing that came to my mind as we were speaking, like micromanaging doesn't look to be a good idea as well in this in this scenario, because
It depends what we understand under micromanaging. But if it's really, a boss that just sits on the shoulder of someone and looks at, hey, what are you doing, how are you doing that, then I agree with you. That's not what we're looking at. What I need that, a good manager should understand is, whenever you have a team of product management, you need to understand where are they in their development road, because
Mhm.
you will have that one product manager that is experienced for one task, so exactly, I don't even need to look at him when he's doing that, because he will do that, he will finalize it and then come back to me and say it's done. But then again, even if you've been a product manager for a long time, there might be that one task you've never done before, so you still need to learn that one task, and then it's good to have someone guiding you.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it should be a guidance that gives you a bit of freedom to, you don't need to use that template. If you prefer to use another one, use it. uh, but you need to do it. You know what I mean. So this is what needs. So I think also there, um, we need to understand, where are the people at that are in this product management position, and are there um, in the phase where you can actually leave them alone, empowered to do their choices and decision, or are they still in the phase where they're learning? And as we know, that there are these four phases where you have one that starts and is super motivated but doesn't know how to do the task. Then you have the one that actually um, you know knows how to do the task but lost his motivation. So also there you need to. Leadership is not an easy thing, and I'm
It comes down
learning
to
that.
people. It comes down to people at the end. Right.
So yeah, I think, but I agree with you. If it's just controlling everything, everyone at every time, that's something that you cannot do as a product manager. Honestly, there are so many things that we need to do that sometimes I have more the feeling, that people in my team at least are like, yeah, Antonia, I would need a bit more guidance in this direction. Can you tell me exactly what are the expectations? And I'm not doing it because, of course, I don't care. It's just because I also have a lot to do. So I prefer them to tell me, these are my limits. This is when I need your support, rather than me sitting there and looking. Okay, do you need my support now? So yeah,
Yeah,
but everyone has his style, and for sure mine is not perfect.
yeah. Well, we'll always have something to improve and learn. Yeah, it's about finding a way to monitor, like control without over controlling.
Correct.
It's and at the end comes down to people. It's not easy, as you mentioned. It's not only about knowing about how to do a task, but there's also the personal side. There's the motivation, and yeah, challenges about work. Antonia, with the feed additive industry evolving, how do you ensure that your products not only are innovative but also deliver the right value to producers?
I think that one of the most important things is that no matter what you're trying to develop or innovate, the customer is finally the end user. So you really need to have an open discussion with them, try to understand what they really need, try to understand in which form they need it, and then also try to sort of develop a feedback loop that can be used, and ensure that everyone is on the same page. So meaning, my sales team knows what the customer needs, I know what the customer need, and then we try to propose to the customer a solution rather than just a product. What is also very important is that you need to know the limits of your own company. We tend to say, we can solve everything, but that's not the case. We know exactly that there are some of the problems that need multiple hurdle approaches. So working more together with vaccines company, working more together with nutrition companies, and find synergism among us. And so I think that's also very, very important. And by the end, a lot of time we tend to sell our product just talking about our futures, but the future is, by the end, not the thing that is important. It is important, are we providing them with a solution, because if we're not, and we're not able to meet their KPIs, it doesn't make any sense. So that's why I'm saying, understanding who the customer is, what do they really measure, and how can we help them, ensuring that they get what they need. Of course, a company always needs to thrive for innovation. So finding new molecules, new technologies that can be used, but those type of innovation don't happen overnight. So it takes years and years, and so we still need to work with what we have nowadays. And it might not be the best possible solution out there, but it's still a solution. And I need to be honest enough with my customers, telling them this is what we can achieve with these products, and don't expect more or don't expect less. So I think that's one of the most important things in our business.
Okay, so we're talking about customer feedback. We're talking about understanding the limits not only of the company but also limits in the producer side, right? Can they afford it? Do they have the facilities to use the product, the technology needed to use the product? We're talking about, I don't know if I said that, but yeah, customer feedback and transparency seems to be something very important, right? To have things aligned. That's great. Antonia, my next question is a little bit about your experience. So you've been through these different roles, um, and I know how much they love you in per starp animal nutrition by talking to your colleagues. So, um, what do you think like are some key insights that you've learned through your journey that could help other professionals in similar roles to yours?
Well, I think that you know something that I've learned myself as well is that when you start a position, of course you would never apply for that position if you're like, oh, I'm not suitable for that position. So you always come to the new job with specific expectation. And what I want to tell to people that might be in that situation is try to sort of come open minded, because as I was saying before, product management can be so different. So even if you've been in a product management role before, it doesn't mean that that role will be exactly the same in the new company, because every company sees product management in very different way. And I actually had a very similar experience when I moved from my previous job to the current job when I joined Perstop, where I was like, yeah, I don't think that they're doing the right things with product management, and this needs to be changed and that needs to be changed. When then you realize they never even posed, they never even thought about it. And so, I shouldn't just have come in and said, this is how we should be doing it, but I should have just understood why are they doing it like that. And then probably they wouldn't have sort of seen me at the beginning as a very stubborn and tough person, but more as a person that wants to do better and wants to learn more. So I think that's one of the most important things, meaning that even if you think you know about product management, it might not be exactly what or how you're going to experience it in the next job, because as mentioned already, there are so many different types of product management that it can be overwhelming as such. And then some some companies might leave the marketing thing entirely to the marketing department. So as a product manager, you don't need to get involved. In other companies, it's the exact opposite. So I think that's maybe one of the main messages. And I think I mentioned it already before. The important thing as a product manager is that you're always willing to learn something, because only by learning new things you can actually try to help and improve processes to make to be better in the future.
Yeah, on the first in the first topic you brought, both like your expectations, that's something we applied in the company. Like we when we join a new company, you have your own ideas, your own bias, how you see things, and it's easy to, you're in a new scenario, see things differently and ask, okay, why are you doing things like you're doing? Like you could be more efficient if you do this way or like better. We have this kind of a rule in the company where in the first 90 days in the company, what you do is you're going to take a lot of notes on everything that you think it's You saw something, you don't agree, you think it should be different, take a note on that. We want to know that, but you're going to wait for 90 days, understand the process, see how things are going. After the first 90 days, 3 months, we're going to look at those, and you are going to review those, and you'll see, okay, yeah, maybe this one does not make sense anymore when I thought about it because of these and that aspects of the work. So usually the list starts very big. You review it, it reduces a lot. There are always, room. There's always room for improvement. So we bring new things, we improve, but first you need to understand the company. You need to understand like how things are going, how things are done. So
I think that that's a very wise decision. I just think that sometimes, people don't get that opportunity. I mean, I remember when I joined Perstorp, they had basically no one in product management. And so they were like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And there was no one from whom I can learn, why are we doing it like this? Because the person before me had already left. And with her, a lot of information had already gone lost. So yeah, but that's why, even if you're basically thrown into the thing, I agree with you that you should step back and take things slowly when possible. It's not possible all the time, but then, again, when you are a product manager and you're employed by a new company, you're like, yeah, but they must have seen something in me, so I want to give it all, and I want to bring my experience, I want to share things. I think the rule of your company is quite nice, so maybe, when it's possible, we should also apply it.
yeah,
But yeah, but at least, in Perstorp now, as I told you, 2.5 years ago when I started, I was the only product manager. Fortunately enough, now we have a team, and we're already 4 product managers. So at least they've seen the need, or they've seen how important product management is, and I'm very happy to at least have achieved that.
Antonio, we talked about in the beginning about the different types of product managers. You have the technical, the brand owner, and a portfolio. Uh, Thinking about a little bit broaderly, not about specific type of product manager, but how do you see the role of product managers in a general view evolving in the future, especially with this increasing emphasis on innovation and also like market differentiation? What do you think? What do you see as the changes to come in the lives of product managers?
I think product management, first of all, is going to become tougher and tougher because I mean, let's be honest, in the feed additive industry, the real innovation, are, quite rare, in the market. Yeah, there might be, a few new ingredients that are launched, but basically by the end of the day, the mode of action comes to the same point. So, you know, the I would say that the most important thing for product management will be really in the future to be able to understand where is the market going, but not only from a perspective of our direct customers, but also from a perspective of consumers, because that will directly influence our customers. So, up to now, we've never really cared about, how are the preferences of our customers in Europe gonna influence our business. Now, we have all these, slow growing birds and things like that, where we basically just accepted that it was like that. But I think, it would be great if we product management in the future can also help the industry in general teach, or show to consumers what is it really about. I mean, we always sit there and talk about free range and all of this, but are the real consumer aware of what's happening when there is a risk of avian influenza? Are they aware of what's happening when there is a risk of African swine fever? How to handle that, and showing them that we're not just closing the birds inside because we like them to be like that, but we're also doing it to protect them, and protect the food that we're going to try to deliver. So, it will be a dream if product management in the future could play a role also in that direction, work more closely with the marketing departments of the consumers, and helping understand that. And but I think really important will be to, from a product management perspective, to not only focus on the production market, so the livestock market as such, but also understanding how the business is going to evolve in the future, and try to tackle that also from that angle.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yes, consumer demand. That's something that is having a bigger impact every time more. In other industries, it's very, very clear. Maybe in the feed additive industry, it will also, every time be. And that's a very interesting perspective. Like, hey, people want a free range birds and everything, but okay, what comes with it? Are we, are we, what's the word? Do we want to pay the price for it? Like if anything happens, and then the whole production, I don't know, half of the production of the country just dies because you lost because of diseases and everything. So that's something. It's important to teach the like
Yeah.
consumer, right? Because maybe that's the natural feeling. Like I want to eat the meat, but I don't want the animals to suffer. So why aren't they like in free range? Why aren't they in the fields running happy while they don't go to our plates? And sometimes it's we need this education to the consumer also, so they can understand why things are going, why they're done as they are done.
I don't think there is a right or wrong in this discussion. I just think that people need to make decision knowing what they're choosing, because now what I experience a lot of time is people saying, yeah, we cannot eat that chicken because it's not organic farmed, and so it will have antibiotics in it. And I'm like, yeah, but because it's organic farm, it doesn't mean that if the animal got sick, it didn't get treated. You know what I mean? So, and then there is the other thing where we always say, we need to reduce all antibiotics. Consumer, like, antibiotics is a really big topic. We shouldn't be using antibiotics at all. And but if antibiotics are needed to keep animals from pain and save them, and I think they should be used. Let's be honest. That's the only way to avoid the issue. So it's an interesting thing. It's interesting to see where we're going, because then on the other side we also have the regulatory bodies that are setting standards. So methane reduction is a very big topic, and there are products out there recently launched that can reduce methane emission. But then on the other side, they don't do anything for the producer. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That they don't see improvements in performance. So yeah, they need to use it because from a regulatory perspective, we're imposing them to reduce emissions, but it doesn't help them. But at least people, when selling those type of products, they're very clear. It's not going to give you the performance, but it's going to give you this and that. So yeah, again, we talk about transparency and
Yeah, we come back
how
to
that.
the transparency topic. uh, Antonia, thank you so much for this talk. It was very nice talking to you, learning more about product management, portfolio management, and other topics that we discussed here. For us to wrap up our conversation, I just have two questions. First one is, do you have any books, podcasts, movies, documentaries to recommend to the audience? And the second one is, where can our listeners find you online?
Well, thinking about books, maybe the two books that have helped me the most were Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, which I really like. The concept of I cannot do this yet, meaning that I actually want to be able to do this, and that brings me back to what I said before, which is about constant learning, willing to learn and learn new things. And the other one, which is a book that actually my previous boss suggested to me, is Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. Because I remember, every time rusting into his office, I say, that person is just an idiot. And then my boss saying, yeah, Antonia, no, I don't think he's an idiot. It's just that you don't understand how he functions. So that helped me also a lot in managing how to work with others. Because as a product manager, being able to communicate and work with everyone is key to success. And then where people can find me online, well, I have my LinkedIn profile, Antonia Tacconi. They can find me on Instagram, and yeah, basically that's that's it. That are the two platforms that I usually use.
It's enough. Those are the platforms I use as well. So, well, they can find us here on YouTube as well. For everyone that was here with us today with this great conversation, thank you for your company, and I hope to see you guys on our next episodes. Thank you, everyone, and bye. Have a good day.
Bye bye.